Good morning, Year 4. Welcome to Tuesday's English. I apologise if it's a bit noisy today. My computer seems to be struggling, so it's humming at me. But hopefully you can't hear it too badly and you can hear me. Let's start with our grammar retrieval. So your challenge this morning is to tell me what a subordinate clause is. And can you write a subordinate clause? Remember, you would find a subordinate clause as part of a complex sentence. Pause the video and see if you can write me one. Okay, so I've come up with a few. I've used the conjunctions from my word map down here that we should be used to seeing now. I've started with my subordinate conjunction if it was summer. Now, if it was summer, I would be playing outside. If it was summer is my subordinate clause. It does not make sense on its own. It needs a main clause to go with it. My main clause is I would be playing outside. I've come up with another subordinate clause down here, and I've started with when I was at home. So I could write here, I wrote a poem when I was at home. I wrote a poem is my main clause, and I've attached it to my subordinate clause to create a complex sentence. I wonder how many subordinate clauses you came up with, and if it's something you struggled with, can you now take my subordinate clause, because I was hungry, and can you pop that with a main clause to create a complex sentence? Pause the video and have a go at that now. Okay, well hopefully you're now getting to grips with those subordinate clauses and complex sentences. We're going to keep building that up as we would do at school. But going back to our poetry, which is our focus this week, remember we're writing a poem about a river. Your audience is us, your teachers, okay? And yesterday we looked at similes. Today we're going to look a little bit more at metaphors, okay? So, can you identify a metaphor? Can you write a metaphor? And can you use precise word choices? Okay. So we're going to be looking at The River by Valerie Bloom again, as we're used to this poem now. We're well used to the language that's being used. So thinking about what a metaphor is, just take a minute. Can you work out what it is? Can you find any in the poem? If I tell you that the river's a wanderer is a metaphor, do you think you can work out what a metaphor is? The river's a winder, that's a metaphor. The river's a hoarder. The river's a baby. The river's a singer. And the river's a monster. They are all metaphors. So like a simile, a metaphor is a form of description. So a simile compares one thing to something else, whereas a metaphor says it is something. So rather than if we were looking at a simile would say the river is a monster. But a metaphor says the river is a monster. A simile would say the river is like a monster, you're comparing, but a metaphor says the river is a monster. The river is a singer. It's more definite. Okay? What's the effect that they have on the reader? Well, I think a metaphor paints a more definite image in your head. The river is a monster. It's angry. It's frustrated. It's scary. It might have big teeth. You know, it's coming to get you. It's a more violent image, I think, than saying the river is like a monster. So what you're going to do for me today, using that knowledge, you're going to identify some of these metaphors. So your bronze challenge today is underline any nouns, adjectives and verbs. So if I want to find some adjectives, I'm going to look through here. Those little treasures, okay, we've got little, that's a good adjective. Okay. I'm going to look for some verbs. verbs here. The river's a hoarder and he buries. It's a doing word. A verb is an action. Okay, the river's a baby. He gurgles and he hums. Okay, and my nouns are my things. So the river is a thing. The wanderer is a thing. The nomad is a thing, person or place. A tramp is a thing, person or place. Okay, so your bronze challenge is to underline the nouns, the person, place or thing, the adjectives, the describing words, and the verbs, the doing words. Silver challenge is to underline adjectives, verbs, as we've just done, but also metaphors. So, as we had a look at a moment ago, the river is a winder. That's a metaphor. So you could underline that in red. So I envision most of you starting at the silver challenge, but having a go at gold challenge as well. If I just pop this up here, you can see. After completing the silver challenge, can you come up with some metaphors of your own that describe a river? So you might say, the river is a, and that's the key language, is a. I'm going to pop that in blue, in bold there. The river is a, and I'm going to go for a snake. The river, I'm going to go for bold again to remind me, that's why it's a metaphor, is a stampede of antelope. That was the one that I came up with yesterday. Another one I came up with yesterday, river is a mirror. Okay, so I've got 3 there. I apologise for my spelling mistakes in my titles there. Let's correct those. I wonder if anyone spotted those. Metaphors, there you go. Okay, so I've come up with 3 metaphors there. Your sheet that's attached today is this one here. So you've got the 3 challenges at the top, and you also have a copy of the poem to work on top of. Or if you haven't got it printed out, maybe you could make me a list of adjectives, a list of verbs, and a list of metaphors. Don't worry about copying the poem up. A list is absolutely fine. You can identify them all the same. Okay, good luck. I look forward to seeing your metaphors. Again, if you're finding metaphors really tricky, just look at the adjectives, the verbs, and the nouns. Okay? Right. Have a great lesson, Year 4. Bye.